Hey everyone, before the story begins, please subscribe to the channel and stay with me until the very end. This story is long, emotional, and every detail matters. The ambulance sirens cut through the Munich night like knives. Rain slashed the streets, bouncing off the cobblestones and washing neon reflections into long, jagged streaks. I ran alongside, my coat soaked, my hands trembling, unable to comprehend what I had been told over the phone. "She's been assaulted," the voice said. "Hospital St. Anna, intensive care unit. Stabilized, but severe trauma. My wife, Elena, beaten, hospitalized." And I had spent the last weeks trying to forgive her, trying to ignore the whispers of suspicion that had haunted me since I discovered the text messages she'd hidden. Elena had always been elusive, beautiful in that quiet, calculated way. She loved art galleries, black coffee, and long, meandering walks along the Isar River. She was clever, ambitious, and prone to making choices that left me uncertain where I stood. Her lover's name had been Felix. I had found it months earlier, hidden in a thread of encrypted messages. At first, I had dismissed it as imagination, paranoia, a consequence of too many years living in a city that teaches distrust as a form of survival. But the bruises, the late nights, the evasive excuses, they added up. And now, the proof was in blood. At the hospital, the smell of antiseptic and rubber masks clung to everything. The corridors were dimly lit, the hum of machines constant. I found her in ICU, her face swollen, bruised beyond recognition, tubes crossing her body like snakes. Her hand moved slightly, a small sign of life that made my chest tighten. A doctor approached, tall, gray-haired, eyes tired but sharp. He motioned me aside. "She'll survive," he whispered, voice low, almost conspiratorial. "But you need to know something. The injuries, they're not what they seem." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "The pattern," he said. "The way the trauma is distributed. It's defensive, yes, but also selective. Someone hit her in a way to send a message. And the interesting part, there are inconsistencies in her story." I stared. My mind reeled. "What inconsistencies?" He hesitated. "She claimed an unknown assailant, random. But evidence, small things, phone records, bruising patterns, suggest someone she knew, someone close." The world narrowed. Close. Someone she trusted. I sat by her bedside that night, rain thrumming against the windows, reflecting like broken glass. She moaned softly, eyes fluttering open. "Elena?" I said, voice shaking. "It's me. I'm here." She blinked, then tried to speak. Words failed. Just a whimper. I held her hand, cold and fragile. Every memory of our shared years came flooding back. The honeymoon in Salzburg, her laughter ringing across the snow-covered streets. The fights, the silence, the betrayals that had been whispered rather than shouted. And now this. Over the next days, I kept vigil. Doctors rotated shifts. Nurses moved quietly. But I noticed little things. The way Elena's phone remained in her handbag, a text alert silenced. The way certain visitors were admitted quietly. Faces familiar but unfamiliar in their intent. And then, the whispering began. A nurse, young, nervous, came to me late one evening. "I don't know if I should," she said. "But she's been hiding more than you know. Her injuries, her behavior. She's not entirely innocent." I felt something cold coil in my stomach. "What do you mean?" "She's involved with someone dangerous," the nurse whispered. "And she knew it could get violent. Some of this, it's self-inflicted to cover up mistakes, to protect herself, to manipulate." The words hung in the air, a mix of betrayal and strategy, of love warped into survival. I left the hospital that night, rain soaking my coat, every step along the Isar echoing like a drumbeat in my head. How could she, my wife, my companion through years of ordinary misery and occasional joy, have lied to me? How could Felix have hurt her, and yet, in some hidden way, she had orchestrated it? I began to investigate, quietly, carefully. Phone records, bank statements, private investigators, everything pointed to a secret life she had cultivated. Felix was not just a lover. He was an accomplice, a pawn in her larger game. She had been involved in financial dealings, property acquisitions, subtle manipulations of social networks. And when Felix lost patience or overstepped, she let the violence happen, just enough to appear innocent, vulnerable, untouchable. And the more I uncovered, the more enraged I became, not just at her, but at the intricate web she had woven, a life built on betrayal, half-truths, and danger that I had been blissfully unaware of. Months passed. Elena recovered physically, but the ICU scars remained. Psychological scars were slower, deeper, and invisible. I watched her navigate recovery with precision. Smiles at visitors, apologies to doctors, careful words to friends, and a glint in her eye that betrayed nothing. I began my slow burn revenge, not against her physically. She had proven capable of her own violence, but against the world she had manipulated. Every financial misstep I discovered, every fragile alliance she had built, I dismantled quietly. Real estate deals fell through. Banks scrutinized accounts. Felix's employment and reputation were systematically destroyed by exposure of prior misconduct, carefully documented and delivered to authorities anonymously. Elena began to realize slowly that her safety net was unraveling. She confronted me once in the apartment, early winter, rain dripping from the eaves outside. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded, fury barely contained. "You promised. We promised." I looked at her, calm, precise. "I promised to survive, and I promised to see the truth, even when it's painful." "You can't touch everything," she spat. "I can," I said softly, "because I've learned to watch, to wait, and to move when the time is right." The climax came during a private gala, snow falling softly over the Marienplatz, lights reflecting on the wet cobblestones. Elena and Felix arrived, radiant and careful. I followed discreetly, with subtle disclosures, evidence planted in journalists' hands, and whispers at the right time. The social elite began to turn. Contracts were frozen, invitations rescinded. Their carefully curated image collapsed under its own weight. Elena's face, when she realized what had happened, was a mixture of horror and disbelief. Felix tried to protect her, but the law, the media, the networks she had so meticulously controlled, all slipped from her grasp simultaneously. I didn't gloat. I watched, cold, deliberate, patient. Weeks later, she returned home alone, broken, humbled, unable to manipulate or hide. I met her in the kitchen, afternoon sunlight falling over the tiled floor. "You survived," she said quietly. "I always do," I replied. "And so will you, but not because I protect you anymore." She looked down, eyes flickering with something like regret, maybe fear. "I misjudged everything." "Not misjudged," I said. "Ignored. You thought control was life. It isn't. Survival is." I poured 2 cups of tea. She accepted one without a word. Outside, the city moved. Indifferent. Beautiful. A reflection of everything we had built and destroyed. I had learned that betrayal and love can coexist, that violence can hide behind beauty, and that the patient can always outlast the clever. Sometimes, the truth whispered by a doctor is the beginning of understanding. And sometimes, revenge is not loud, not vengeful. It is precise, deliberate, and inevitable. The rain returned that night, tapping softly against the windows, a rhythm that echoed patience, endurance, and quiet justice. And for the first time in months, I felt calm, because I had survived, and she had finally seen the cost of her choices.